Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Welcome to the Wrap Podcast, the place to catch up on all the regional and national rugby in Wales. You can find us on all the usual social media platforms and message us through there if you want, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. So all the boring stuff out the way, let's talk rugby.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrap Podcast. As we near the World Cup, things start to hot up. We were kind of hoping that this week there'd be very little Welsh rugby news and we could just focus on the World Cup. But that kind of bit the dust halfway through the week. So joining me, as always, is Harley and Carwyn. Good evening, gentlemen. Carwyn, good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for a refresh. Now I'm ready to rock and roll for the World Cup.
Mm-hmm. How are you, Harley? How are things?
Yeah, not too bad. It's getting geared up to go off on my holiday to Cornwall.
Cornwall, while the World Cup's on.
I'm back before the first game. Back by the 8th, so it's all good.
Cool. I had during the 2012 Olympics, my wife and her two friends decided to book a holiday for all three families in France. So on the first week of the Olympics, so everyone else was going into London, and we were heading out to the middle of France to a farmhouse that had one TV between three rooms and no internet signal. So, yeah.
That sounds perfect, to be honest. That sounds bliss.
Absolute hell it was. Absolute hell. So Jamie was here up till about 5 minutes ago and has disappeared. Speak of the devil, Jamie has just reappeared. So while Jamie boots himself back up and finds himself again, just going to introduce this evening's guest. So I told you we'd get there in the end. So this evening's guest is sports journalist based in London, but with a big interest in French rugby and all things rugby in general. Good evening and welcome to the pod, Paul Eddison.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Paul. Welcome.
And James, are you with us now?
I am. I do apologise. Having internet issues tonight. Thanks a bunch, Virgin Media.
He's off already.
I'm okay now. I'm okay. I do apologise about that.
So we just sat there for 10 minutes and slagged you off, mate. It's you know.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt you did. What's new?
What's new? Okay, let's start with drink of the week and get that one done. So, Carwyn, you were told that you had the baby sham fine, but
I didn't believe you. So there was no one to back it up. And the last time I saw, apart from Reese drinking baby sham, was my mother in like 1985, I think it was. But no, I've got Brewgooder, from the Northern Monk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hazy pale ale. And here's this Diviner pale ale. Enjoy, it's very nice. Only 4.1%. Brewed up in Glasgow. And it's really, really nice. So I can suggest that for anyone who's fancied a little tipple of this.
And where'd you get it from?
The Co-op. £2.30 a can. There we go.
Right, yeah.
I know.
Harley, have you got something sensible this week? Or...
So I've just got a nice standard bitter. It's called Ask Your Dad. It comes from the Topsham Brewery, which is a lovely pub in Exeter Quayside. I haven't got a bottle or label to show you because I bought it in the pub in my growler. Which no, not that growler. It's just a nice 2-3 pint vessel for keeping beer nice and fresh, so you can fill it, so you can go have a couple of pints and have a few more when you get home.
See, I quite like the idea of that. I had a friend that used to do that. He used to run a pub, and you could buy beer in a takeaway cardboard box. So it was environmentally friendly and everything. You could literally buy a box of beer and take it home with you when the pub closed. That's a good idea.
During lockdown, my local used to you get a 2-pint milk carton, and they deliver you a 2-pinter of that. Yeah, this particular ground is actually from Craft Republic. So for any listeners who are in the Barry vicinity, highly recommend going down there. At some lovely pints on tap, and they keep changing quite regularly. So me and my wife always try to stop off whenever we're down that way.
Okay. James, have we managed to locate the cucumber beer yet that was promised a couple of weeks ago, or have you gone normal?
I don't recall promising a cucumber beer, but I will have it on my list. But I've got another silly beer for you, Lee. I think you'll like this one.
Go on, Ed.
So, I'm into Northern Monk beers at the moment. So I love Tiny Rebel. But Northern Monk now are my new favourite because they're coming up with all these wonderful, weird flavours. And this week, I have got, a fruit crumble and custard beer.
Fuck.
What do you think of that, Carwin?
I think your insides must be falling apart, pal. I tell you what, James, honest to Christ, that is horrendous.
That's as bad as my...
You haven't tasted it. You can't taste it.
Yeah, but it just, the sound of it, it just... I can imagine.
Okay,
I just know I can't. No, I can't. No. Listen, mate. We went to that bar with you in Cardiff after the rugby and all that. Was it the Brewdog we went to?
No, that was Tiny Rebel.
Tiny Rebel.
Come on, Carwin.
Well, hey, I'd had a few then, so I couldn't quite remember. But that beer was just disgusting. And they're not sponsoring us, like so I like.
You're completely wrong as always, Carwin. You're completely wrong. 4.5%. From Sainsbury's, I think it was £3.70. I tell you what it tastes like. It doesn't actually taste too much like fruit crumble and custard. It actually tastes like a bag of Haribo's. It's very, very sweet. And look at the colour on it. You see that?
That's like my candy floss cider. It's just sugar. That's all it is. It's just sugar, isn't it?
I think maybe my guts won't be too good after this, to be honest with you. But that's what I got this week. Northern Monk, fruit crumble and custard beer. Cheers.
I saw that in the pub. I'll send it back.
Yeah. So
I think they've gotten to the end of the barrel.
So, Paul, this is the kind of standard of drink that we're talking about. Have you got a drink of the week or a drink of the week that you can tell us about?
Well, my drink of the evening is a nice glass of water, but to be honest, I don't think I was ever going to top fruit crumble and custard. In terms of extreme things, I think the closest I had, I spent a year or 6 months in Spain when I was at uni, and the go-to drink for one of the nights out we used to have was called a calimocho, which was half a pint or half a litre of red wine and half a litre of Coke, which sounds absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
But after about 1 litre of it, you're like, no, I'm won over. Had to be the worst possible red wine you could find, but only ever Coca-Cola. And it cost about €3, so it went down a tree. Inflation has probably gone up a little bit.
I try it. I give that a go, but I'll try anything, won't I? So,
mate, you try a bucket of piss if you could. Jesus.
All right, Carrie, won't go that far.
I think I've had it before. It's
always going too far, isn't it?
So my beer of the week, because I'm allowed back on beer now. So I've got mango wheat beer from the Blue Moon Beer Company. And I usually have a look at all of the gumph on the back and all that, and there's absolutely bugger all. There's nothing. It's just like, this is mango wheat beer, and that's it. And I got to be fair, it doesn't taste like mango, but it's quite a cloudy beer. It's all right. I'm just happy to be back drinking beer, boys. So,
Yes.
There we go.
Good stuff.
Yes. All right, so that's the serious stuff out the way then. So let's do Jamie's news. You'll be delighted to know, Jamie, I haven't got a theme tune for you this week, mate. You're just going to have to crack on without a theme tune and just go with Jamie's news desk.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely fine with you not providing a theme tune this week, if I've been brutally honest. Right then, let's start with some news then. Big news coming out of France on the weekend. Former Wales scrum half Rhys Webb has been provisionally suspended after testing positive for growth hormone. Webb was tested by the French anti-doping agency during a training session with Biarritz in July. Webb is protesting his innocence and has sought legal advice. Now, if he's found guilty, Webb could serve a 4-year suspension. And we know that Rhys Webb has attended a meeting today on Monday with the French anti-doping agency. So, big news coming out of France. Paul, I know you've got your finger on the pulse when it comes to French rugby. What did you make of this news coming out of Biarritz?
Well, it was quite a shock, that's for sure. I don't think anyone kind of sees that coming. Reading the story, I think they were pointing out that it's incredibly rare for anyone to test positive for growth hormone, just because it's I think there's a very short turnaround between the testing and kind of basically you don't have very long before it's out of the system. So they were saying I think it was the first time since 2016 that someone in France had been caught for it. So that was a bit surprising. Obviously, Biarritz is a bit of a kind of comedy of errors at the moment as a club. They were almost sold in the summer. The president was meant to take over Agen and then somehow ended up back. He's been kind of falling out with the town council for the past kind of few years, and threatened to move the club to Lille. And they obviously they jumped straight in, signed Mohamed Hawass after he was sacked by Clermont after his legal issues. So a club that's probably not in the news for the right reasons most of the time. And I think they lost 55-0 in their first game without Rhys Webb, so not going too well either.
Well, you said it was a shock. I think a lot of us were shocked, because he's only 5'8", so it's clearly not working. But I don't know how it's going to affect his game, to be honest. I mean, he's a big enough lad. Last time I saw him, he was, and this was a few years back, he was proper built, So I don't know why he'd think he'd need to take it if he did. But I think he's a pretty honest guy. So, but then again, we don't know.
Thank you for that, Carwyn.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's all right.
Cheers for that.
I tried to get it in earlier, but I couldn't. But go on.
I think that the thing for me was when it came out originally, and they have retracted it now, where they said about the WRU supplying them and things like that.
Yes.
I think that was a confusion in translation somewhere, because, like you say, Paul, it's got a 1 week, basically a 7-day window between taking it and testing. Up until about 10 years ago, it was literally 48 hours, 24 hours for most people. So that's why very, very few people get caught with it, because it's got such a small window, and most tests nowadays are announced. You have to be in a certain place at a certain time. So it is odd that somebody would get caught with that in their system. And I think Webb has come out and said, it's very marginally above the level, which is why he's going to fight it, because he says, he's adamant that he didn't take anything, but his growth hormone, whatever that hormone is elevated. So, whichever way round we go, it's just not looking good for Rhys Webb. Even if he doesn't get banned and he comes back, do you know what I mean? From
it's attached to the name now, isn't it? It's attached to him.
From a PR point of view, it's not great for him. Put it that way. So, but there, we can't really say much more, can we?
No, we'll wait and see what the actual verdict is before. We have to, judge. But so that was the first bit of big news. And then the second bit of big news was Dan Biggar. So Wales fly-half Dan Biggar has announced that he will retire from international duty after the Rugby World Cup. Since making his debut as a 19-year-old against Canada back in 2008, Biggar has played 109 tests for Wales and is preparing for a third World Cup. Excuse me. He's also been on 2 British and Irish Lions tours, making 3 test appearances in South Africa in 2021. When I saw the news, I have to say it didn't come as a shock or surprise. I don't think it would have done to a lot of people. The other thing I'd say is we're really going to miss him when he's gone, because I've made this point for a long time, but we will only truly appreciate in Wales when he actually retires. And it's the same as players like Neil Jenkins and Stephen Jones. I always felt he was underrated and underappreciated in Wales, and he's been a brilliant player over the years in Welsh rugby. Fantastic servant. And look, he has his moments. We all know about his strops and his meltdowns, and he's had criticism for the way he liaises with referees, but he's a competitor, isn't he? He wears his heart on his sleeve. I think it was Rob Howley who described him as a test match animal, which I think is a perfect description of him. And he's going to be sorely missed, I think. It's a shame. We need to make the most of him now before he retires. Cracking player. Alwyn, your thoughts on Dan Biggar retiring from international rugby?
Well, like you said there, Jamie, though, he's going to be compared to the likes of Stephen Jones and Neil Jenkins. And it's very unfair, I think. I mean, he's dragged Wales through some of these matches and got us these wins. He's dragged the players along with him, like I say, with that competitive spirit. There was always calls for the likes of Matthew Morgan to get that shot at fly half or someone else, no, you're right. It's laughable, to be honest. But I think he's like Marmite, and he has been over the years for a lot of players. Like, I love him or hate him, but obviously as an Ospreys fan as well, he did superb for the Ospreys and obviously for Wales. And I see you put out like your favourite moment there for him in a Wales shirt was that kick against England in Twickenham 2015, which obviously a huge moment. I think a lot of us would agree. But for me, as an Ospreys fan, his best moment came when we beat Leinster in a Rabo direct in 2012 when Shane scored, in the last few minutes in the corner. And as a young lad, he put a huge kick over from the corner. Just shows great character and determination from the lad, at that age. And he's gone on to great things, not just for the Ospreys or Wales, but, Northampton and now he's in Toulon, and they've got a great player on their hands. And I think Wales will miss him. I know we've got young Sam Costello coming through, and he's got to be given time. But, the Six Nations will be around the corner straight after that World Cup, and we'll have to find another fly half to go with him, because I don't know if Anscombe will be there not as well. But no, good luck to Dan Biggar. Great servant of the game in Wales and in England, and good luck to him. Wish him all the best. And hopefully he won't get injured during the World Cup.
No, quite right, absolutely. Harley, your thoughts on Dan Biggar retiring from international rugby?
So Carwyn picked a moment from the end of his career. You've picked one more from the middle. For me, similar to Carwyn's, it involves a cross kick, and it's the one to Josh Adams in the 2019 Grand Slam. That cheeky sort of like just heads up, and his game intelligence. He may not have been the most natural runner of the ball, but he made up for it with just how fantastically well he saw the game, and he made up. Whenever he had a week, maybe he wasn't the longest distance kicker, so he became the best at catching aerial bombs and chipping over the line and giving wingers a chance to catch. He's four. In Wales records, he's 4th all-time caps and 4th all-time points.
He adapted his game, didn't he? He completely adapted his game.
Yeah, 15 years, 2 Lions tours. Not maybe the most successful period as Wales captain. I mean, I'm not a believer in backs as captains anyway, but that's by the by. I mean, you can't argue with what he's done. And, he's, as you point out, he's dragged Wales kicking and screaming more than 1 or 2 times. And for the most part, during that, although he has his tantrums, he's usually a cool enough head to get people thinking and on the game. There's countless times when Wales has scored a try or a penalty to get into the lead, and whilst they're all celebrating, Biggar's the one saying, "No, let's get back. Let's get ready to take the next kickoff. Next job, guys." He's just a consummate professional. I know a lot. Everyone picks up on that thing with Rio Dyer, but to me is more a sign of how much a competitor he is.
But he's always had that. I remember, I can't remember which game it was, but it was for the Ospreys. And he started gobbing off at Ryan Jones, sort of telling him to get back in line. I'm sure Ryan Jones, can't say the words on here, but I'm sure he's about to leather the boy. He wasn't used to young upstart barking orders and saying to this captain of the Grand Slam and Lions where to be standing But fair play to him.
He's never been short on confidence, Dan.
He hasn't, does he?
That's just pissed out. That's what I said earlier about him being a competitor wearing his heart with his sleeve. So Paul, your reaction to Biggar retiring, and where do you think he stands among the fly-half greats in world rugby?
There's a lot of very good fly halves at the moment, but I think watching him against France, the amount of times I felt that any other fly half and France would have got over the line during they had some dark periods, but they'd often play some pretty gruesome games against Wales and always come out on the wrong side. And quite often, because Dan Biggar would just seem to be able to drag Wales over the line. I find it interesting how he obviously mentioned his time as captain probably wasn't the most successful period for Wales, but I think the fact he did a bit more media kind of gave you an idea that actually he comes across as one of the loveliest blokes, which I imagine was not what people thought of him watching him on the pitch, but he does come across as a really nice guy. He is actually very engaging, and he's just obviously kind of super competitive when he's on the pitch. But I really, really enjoyed watching him. Where I put him compared to some of the others, it's quite tough to say, isn't it? I mean, when you're comparing with the Finn Russells and Tomax and people like that, there's a lot of very good tens around. But no, he's been an incredible servant for Wales, and as much as I like the look of Sam Costello, he's going to take some replacing, and I'm not sure who the other kind of cab off the rank is, because it feels like that might be a problem area for a little while until a few guys come through.
Absolutely right. Lee, any thoughts on Biggar's retirement?
I think the thing with Biggar is, like we've all kind of alluded to, he's not the traditional creative flair kind of outside half, and that's why I've always, not disliked him, but I've always wanted to see an outside half that's got a bit more flair and a bit more creativity to it. But what I will say is, in his later years, when he moved to Northampton, he started to show what he could do. He did start to do the chips and the little, run rounds and stuff like that. So he's definitely got it in there. It's just about releasing it, sort of a thing. And it probably came too late in his career to really transfer that onto the international side. And I'll be honest, I don't know how much of him we're going to see at the World Cup. Genuinely, we've all said, as much as I don't like the fact the guy is there, Anscombe is a little bit of a pet when it comes to Gatland, and Costello does give you that running rugby kind of a feel. So yeah, I don't know where Biggar is going to fit in. I
tell you now, he'll start against Fiji.
I don't think he will, mate.
I think he will. I think he will. He'll be in the 23. I think he will.
Yeah,
he's too important on the bench.
Well, I think we'll see more off the bench.
In the 23,
But it depends on Anscombe. If Anscombe's fit, then Gatland puts him in. But in terms of Biggar, I agree with you, Paul. It's going to be difficult to find a replacement. What you tend to find is when outside halves or scrum halves in particular come in pairs, and you've got somebody to compete with for that shirt, that's when you get the best out of people. So who's going to compete now for that 10 shirt? So I say Anscombe's gone, Biggar gone. Costello seems to walk in there, and there's not really anybody putting their hand up going, look at me. We all thought Sheedy was going to be at this World Cup. If you'd have asked us, 18 months ago, Sheedy was virtually a guarantee for this World Cup, going in as our number one outside half, and he's not even made the squad. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that outside half position looks after the World Cup, certainly.
Indeed.
So any more news? Has anything else in Welsh rugby fucked up over the week, Jane? Because that's usually where we are by now. It's a Monday, so, there's something must have gone wrong in Welsh rugby by now.
Well, there's talk of the Elite League replacing the Welsh Principality League. I think we'll talk about that another time. I don't think this is the night to do it. We're in World Cup mode, and we'll do a deep dive on that another time. But also, as well, the Ospreys have announced that fixture against the Sharks will be at Twickenham Stoop. They've announced the date, so it's going to be on Friday, 3rd of November at 7:35. That's all confirmed. I had to laugh at this, though, because when the BBC first reported that Ospreys were going to play Sharks in London, they reported it was going to be a Friday, but it wasn't confirmed. And you had all these Ospreys fans on Twitter and even replying to us on our social. So, no, it won't be a Friday. It won't be a Friday. No, Friday would be terrible. The fans can't get up there. It'll be on a Saturday afternoon. It will be on a Saturday. It has to be on a Saturday. What happened? It was on a Friday night. So that did raise a bit of a chuckle with me. And it just goes to show, don't presume anything. Just because you want it on a certain day doesn't mean it's going to be on that day. But so they have said that season ticket holders will get 50% off tickets. They're a bit pricey, by the way, these tickets. They range from like 30 out to 60 odd quid. They're also going to put on subsidised travel as well for Osprey supporters travelling from Swansea. So, that's all confirmed.
But a lot of those Ospreys fans watched the South Africa-New Zealand game, put 82,000 fans in Twickenham on Friday night, and they were going like, well, there you go. See, we've got this sorted. We're going to fill the Stoop quite comfortably. This is the best thing since sliced bread. So, fickle doesn't come close to where we are in Welsh rugby at the minute.
I did have a message from one of our followers here saying that in case I need a hotel room, Premier in Twickenham Stadium, there's rooms available at £144 a night. I said, mate, plus the train travel and the cost of the ticket. You go, there's no chance I'm going up there.
You're not going, you, Carwyn?
No. I'll probably be working. I'll be on shift probably.
You're still banned, mate. The judges warned you after the last time, and he said, you come anywhere near this stadium again, and that's it.
No, mate, that was the whole of London.
Right, let's move on to World Cup, because this has come around really quickly. We're 2 weeks out from the World Cup. And, it just seems to have kind of crept up on us. So, again, 6 months ago, it was a battle between Wales and Australia. Who was going to go out as winning the group? Who was going to come second? That was the big battle. And now, it's all kind of up in the air. So, Paul, what have you made of the build-up so far? And have you known a build-up to a World Cup quite like the one that we're experiencing right now?
I was trying to cast my mind back. I don't think I've come across something quite like this. There have been some kind of moments that stood out, but and there's certainly been injuries in the past, which obviously are pretty grim. But in terms of all the kind of suspensions, like the shock results, and the idea that we've probably got, I was going to say 4 good teams, but then after Friday night, maybe we're 4 good teams. And then on the other side, who knows what to expect, but Fiji look like they might be pretty handy. So that should be quite fun. I've got the impression this weekend that they decided to cut back on all the camera angles and try and reduce any chance of any disciplinary hearings. I know obviously Scott Barrett's been given a clear run, but it felt like they were trying to avoid any people missing games because I guess everyone wants all the big guns to be at the tournament.
Yeah. So you say like there's some shock results, and obviously Fiji beating England in Twickenham. It is a shock result, but that Fiji team lost to a French seconds team, more or less, previous week. So it is ups and downs. It's the warm ups, and they're going to be a tough team to play anyway. They always are a tough team to break down. But Australia aren't doing themselves many favours at the moment, unless they got something sneaky up the sleeves. I have no idea. But there are a lot of shocks. Like Lee was saying, like with Georgia, they were 6-0 half time against Scotland. Don't know what happened there, but unfortunately, I haven't seen the footage from the weekends. I've been away. I'm still trying to catch up. But I think group stage wise, it's completely wide open. Predictions wise for the Group C, with I think it could be Wales and Fiji going through from our group. What do you think, Paul?
Possibly. From a neutral's perspective, it would be nice to see Fiji go through just because of kind of the history of it and the way they like to play. What's impressed me is their scrum looks much better than it has done in previous years, and that's even without Penny Ravai, who's been injured for the last 2 games, who's probably their best loose head. Their rolling maul is doing quite a bit of damage there. They seem a lot better drilled in the set piece, which I think is where most teams would have kind of just racked up points in the past. Not that they're infallible, but that's kind of an area you can not target maybe quite as much. And
they're a physical unit, aren't they? They're a proper physical unit now.
Yeah, that's for sure. And they were missing probably 2 or 3 key starters against England. I don't know whether Caleb Muntz, the fly half, is going to play as well as he did on Saturday in
Hopefully
every game. But yeah, I think they've got every chance of getting out of the group. Australia, strangely, I mean, that was a bit of a thumping they took on the scoreboard, and they have some pretty obvious flaws. Carter Gordon is such an inexperienced 10 and doesn't seem to be able to kick the goal at all. And they have no other kickers in their back line, which is just, I think it's putting so much pressure on anyone, let alone a rookie 10. But their scrum is going to be a problem because Tupu looks fit, or he looked fit on Sunday. And that Tupu skeleton axis that's a real struggle. And they've got lots of ball carriers, and they've got some guys out wide who are very good under a high ball, maybe less of an issue for Wales, who are good in that area. But so I can see a part of them being decent. But whether they'll turn it around in time, they've lost 5 out of 5, and they did look quite naive at times at the weekend.
But you can never write them off. You can never write them off.
There's the building blocks in place. Unlike, looking at England, I'm struggling to see where they turn it around. Australia, I can see it happening, but I think it's going to come a bit too soon for them in terms of going deep. And then, Georgia, it's a bit of a shame. They're not the force they were up front. They've got some more exciting backs these days. But yeah, I think you're looking at a 3-way battle to get out of the group. And that first game in Bordeaux should be incredible with Wales and Fiji, because that obviously sets the tone for the rest of the pool stages.
Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of nervous Welsh fans out there. I certainly am. Especially going back to 2007 when it was a great game, but it's almost soul destroying. I was in a bar full of Fijians over in Belgium watching it, and it was great to see them so happy the Fiji had won. But from a personal point of view, I was absolutely devastated. But that's rugby, isn't it? We love watching played well and high skilled. But when it comes to the World Cup, you got to have your team do well, and we can't afford to lose to Fiji this time around.
So, first of all, in Pool C, you've brushed on Pool C specifically, but what are you most looking forward to at the World Cup? And you've mentioned Wales, Fiji, but are there any other fixtures that stand out for you? First of all, in Pool C, and then maybe in the World Cup as a whole.
I'm intrigued to see what Portugal are like. On Friday night, I think they were holding Australia A, which was a team with more caps than the Australia team that played on Sunday. They had them at 17 all after I think about an hour. So I think Portugal will be quite an interesting team. They've got some good young wingers. Well, Rodrigo Mato, who plays in the centre, but has been tearing it up in the French second division, or French third division, sorry. But who looks like he's easily good enough to play kind of top flight. And then they had a young winger called Storti who looks great, and a guy who was part of the France 20s team that won the World Cup a few years back, Vincent Pinto. So I think they might surprise people. It's less of an issue now because of the extra week, so they might not play complete second teams, but they will cause some problems. And then just all 3 of the Australia, Fiji, Wales games, that kind of trifecta, I think will be great fun. I was lucky enough to be there in 2019 at Fiji Wales, which Wales obviously got over the line, but I remember just watching that game and watching the first half where Samir Randrandra played. I think he played on the wing in the first half and in the centre in the second. And I thought he was the best winger in the world and then the best centre in the world. But by the end of the game, he was just absolutely unplayable. And they've got, between him and Waisea and Tuasova, just 3 guys who are going to take some stopping. So that will be a challenge. And when you look at, for example, from Wales' perspective, the midfield is probably the least settled area of the entire team. they are going to take some stopping. So that will be.
Well, we're not going to kick it to them. We are literally going to give it to Jack Morgan all day. I'm going to put the pack all the way around him. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
because they are, like you said, they are lethal finishers. Again, like I said, lovely to watch, but not against Wales.
Dear.
Yeah, and then if I was looking at other games, other groups, I mean, it's hard to look past that first game. France, New Zealand, obviously be huge, but probably Group B with the Scotland, South Africa, Ireland trio. I do feel bad for Scotland in that I think this is as good a Scotland team as I can remember being at a World Cup, and they're up against South Africa, who just look absolutely formidable. And their pack is just so tough. And then Ireland, who I only saw bits of the Samoa game. Doesn't sound like they were great, but obviously wasn't full Ireland. But they seem to have something over. I mean, they're better than most teams, but they also seem to have something over Scotland in recent times.
In fairness to that game, it was absolutely torrential rain. What was more frightening was how well Samoa kept the ball into that conditions. And if I had them in my pool as my last game, I'd be very, very worried about getting out of the group.
Yes, I can imagine there's a few people who are a little bit nervous about Samoa in what is looking the friendliest group. But
I think Scotland are going to get out of the group. I think Scotland will get out of the group. Ireland, I mean, they're quarter-final case, But I just think Scotland have played so well over the last few games. They're fifth in the world now. I think they've got every chance of getting out of that group. They play
who then? Who's not getting out of the group? If you think Scotland are getting out of the group, who's missing out? Ireland or South Africa?
I'm going to say Ireland. And to all my Irish friends, I lived there 5 years with you guys, giving me grief.
Can't wait.
No, I love the way they play. I tell you what, I love the way they play. But I think everyone's talked them up. They're world number one. They've done really well. But come the World Cup, they're going to be tested, and they're going to be tested to the limit. And I think Scotland have the ability to do that. South Africa certainly have. I tell you what, do not write Scotland off.
Mate, you're going to get banned from the ferry.
Because it's a tough group.
It is a tough group. Listen, I'm on can number 2, all right? So this is legit. I think don't write Scotland off. You've heard it here first, guys. This is it.
Thank you for that, Carway.
You're very welcome, Jamie.
There's going to be big posters on the Irish ferry now saying this guy just needs to go overboard. If anybody sees this guy, just bin him, chuck him overboard, fuck him. He said we weren't getting out the group. I think that's a very brave prediction, that is, Car. Jamie, you're up next.
Yeah, so let's focus back on Pool C. Just to give you an idea how ridiculously tight and open this pool is, right? I know world rankings, some people dismiss them, but let's just look at the rankings. So Fiji are 7th. They're the highest ranked team now in this pool. You got Australia 9th, Wales 10th, Georgia 11th, and Portugal 16th. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Who saw that coming a few months ago, isn't it? It's absolutely mad. But here's my question for you then, Paul. I'm going to put your net now on the block. Are Wales getting out of Pool C? And if so, who's joining them? Be honest now, Paul. Be honest.
I will say yes, they will get out. I think Gatland will find a way of grinding out that game in Bordeaux. I always felt that his teams were very good at beating sides who they were maybe slightly better than, and not very good at the ceiling was not high enough to be able to challenge the very best, which was obviously why they had that insane run for so many years against the Southern Hemisphere where they just couldn't get over the line. So I think they'll edge out Fiji, and I think they'll sneak out of the group. Who they'll go out with, I'll say I'll go with Fiji. Let's have Fiji to get out, and maybe because of the points difference, Fiji to top the pool still.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
How
far do you think they'll go then? Sorry, my third question was how far do you think they'll go? Fiji and Wales.
I think it depends who gets Argentina in the quarters.
Okay, yeah.
I think Argentina, as inconsistent as they can be, I think they're just a little bit better than the others. So I'm saying Argentina to get to a semi-final, and then Wales or Fiji, depending on who they draw. I'd fancy them to get to a semi. I don't fancy them to get past, barring kind of an absolute battle in a quarterfinal on the other side, leaving someone with nothing left to give. I don't think I'd fancy them to get through a semi. But
fair enough. Okay.
So
sorry, Kai, what was you saying?
I would say, yeah. So was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I normally am. So was it 2011 when Wales were ranked 10th as well, and got to the semi-final with a young team? And
I can't remember they were ranked at that time.
And possibly should have got to the final, apart from some dubious French play acting on the floor.
I mean, watch that one back now, and you're giving it as a red card a million times out of a million.
Yeah, of course yes. You are. Yeah, you are, especially after the last few weeks, isn't it? You know, it's.
I think watching back that game again, because I'm going to plug another podcast here, Squid Rugby World Cup Retrospective. I've rewatched the game, and I'd say Adam Jones going off injured in the first half was far more damaging to Wales than actually that red card. Also, Lee Halfpenny having possibly the only bad day of the boot I've ever seen him have. I think, but I think the bigger one is when in 2015 when we got written off after having a really shoddy summer and autumn series in 2012, and we got put in the pool of death. And I don't think we had anywhere near as much complaining as you hear the Scots with their pool at the moment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that the danger with our Group C at the minute is that it can all get very depressing from a Welsh point of view. You know, we always kind of expect Australia to come and produce something just because they've got, you know, that kind of quality in their squad. Fiji have been, you know, outstanding, and our warm-ups haven't been exactly the best. So let's lighten the mood a little. Yeah, let's just throw this off centre for a couple of minutes. Who's got, and this is, you know, for some of us, this is the key question for the World Cup now. Who's got the best hair?
For some of us, yes.
The best hair.
Not all of us, but for some of us.
For some of us, this is very important, James. This is going to occupy my time for the next 6 weeks. I can guarantee it. The best hair, the best moustache, and the best beard. Now, anyone that saw the Georgian team release today, yeah, I mean, that's like a who's who of beards. It was like watching some kind of, you know, they have the lineup of possible suspects because they all have this kind of look. So, Harley, who was that guy that was second to last with a moustache that is just absolute hell?
So I believe he's a back rower, and I apologise if there is anyone who can speak Georgian properly. I only sort of know how to pronounce the names. So it's Gasheli Shaladze. I've actually butchered that. I do apologise for that, but it is proper 1920s, sort of like Victorian era strongman, rather striking moustache, and it is the most glorious thing I've ever seen.
When I was watching it and I was going, okay, that's an okay beard, they're standard beards, and then you get to him, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. That's why I threw it over to you. And you know, that's a moustache that takes hours every week to grow out, and then you've got to twist it, and then you've got to turn it round, and it's big and bushy, and then it comes up on the end here, and and I mean, it's a thing of beauty. If that's on the pitch, if he's running at you, you just stand in and go, fair play, you know, congratulations on the moustache, because that's absolutely superb. So when we put this out on social media, unfortunately, the first replies we had were Gavin Henson, which, I mean, and then they supplied some photos of Gavin Henson's hair, the red hair, the white hair, the blue hair. So, you know, that's the kind of standard that we're setting. And then we had a couple of basically all of the Fiji team as well. So, I've got a feeling this is going to be a segment that we're going to have to come back to over the World Cup as we see more players on the pitch. We're going to have to come back to who's got the best hair, who's got the best beard. I'll be honest, hair, you've got Faf. You know, Faf is right up there at the top at the minute where it comes to hair. That moustache is absolutely top notch, and you can't go far past Jake Bull's beard. You know, the beard that's feared. So these are
But
the
it's not at
styles.
the World Cup,
I know that.
which is what's ruined my best hair, because the best hair in World Rugby is Roman Ntamak, and it just is. There's no need for debate.
What?
How can you put that above Faf de Klerk? I mean, come on, man.
It's just glorious. I've genuinely spent half hour staring at a picture of it just because I'm thinking, how on earth have you got your hair to look so good? As someone who still has hope to do things with their hair.
But imagine Faf now, right, on Barry Beach, running in his little tight green budgie smugglers, running across the beach with his locks flowing gorgeously in the sunset. I mean, you can't go past that as the top hair of the World Cup.
How about Roman Ntamak emerging James Bond style from the water, just giving it a flick and it just falling perfect, and it's better.
Oh
But
dear.
my other option for really nice hair was Mac Hansen, and he ruined it.
He did.
I was just about to say the same. I'm gutted. He now looks like Beaker from the Muppets. When he's got his scrum cap on. Absolute nonsense. Where's that big goatee and the hair gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. We hit all the
any
big
thoughts? Any thoughts on this riveting conversation?
There must be someone in French rugby that we don't know about that's got amazing hair.
And in terms of hair, I was struggling. In terms of moustache, I was also going to go to Georgia, but a slightly different style. I'm a big fan of David Niniashvili, their fullback with his little very thin pencil moustache, which you could have made a case for Ntamak before he got injured as well. But yeah, Niniashvili's. There's a lot of moustaches on their squad announcement, which I'm just looking at now. But that I'm a big fan of in a slightly different style to our friend in the back row. And then, Faf, there's certainly a case. In terms of best beard, also sticking with Georgia, I don't know if you guys saw their hooker, Mamukashvili, who got his 100th cap at the weekend. But if you look at him, I think he's second or third on that list, and that is quite the very grey, huge, bushy beard.
I was going to say, that's the grey one. It looks like he's bleached it. It's that's insane. That is. See, I told you we needed something to lighten the minute, boys. I just that's definitely something that we're going to come back to in future.
Another option for moustaches, though, because it's always brilliant, is Nick White.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe we'll come back to that.
And Wainwright.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of like a Welsh thing, though. I mean, you can't compare Wainwright with that Georgian guy because I still know I'm going to go with it. But it's
the best of the Welsh facial hair.
Yeah.
No, without Jake Bull.
Anyway, like I say, we'll come back to that as we progress through the World Cup. So, Harley, you're up next.
So, hair aside, you have pointed out a couple of key players, particularly in the Fiji team, but who would particularly from a French rugby perspective, who maybe not so well known in the France squad should we be looking out for? And in the World Cup in general, who are you looking forward to seeing play?
Well, the good thing not the good thing, but one thing about the France squad is that they've been kind of fairly consistent over the last 4 years in terms of selection. So there's not going to be that many people who you haven't seen much of. There've been a couple of kind of French guys. There's a 20-year-old called Louis Bielbiere, who's a fullback and winger, who's absolutely lightning quick, played in the Scotland game and was very good in that one, and didn't go with their 20s to the under-20s World Cup, which they won, but he's pretty special. But he might sneak into a 23 in the big games if he has a really good run, but that might be a struggle. I'm excited to see Jalibert. I'm gutted about Ntamak, obviously, but Jalibert at 10 is about as exciting as it gets. If you said you like watching attacking fly halves, then doesn't get much better. His kind of acceleration off the mark is something to behold, and the little chip over the top is pretty good. In terms of people from other groups, I don't know if he makes their first choice team, but at this point, can South Africa leave out Kurtley Arendse because he's just ridiculous? And as good as Colby and Mapimpi are, I'm not sure either is in the same sort of form. So I think that will be fun to watch. I mentioned Niniashvili for his moustache, but also he might be he's definitely the most exciting Georgian back I've ever seen. And then beyond that, who else am I quite excited to see? I mean, multiple Argentinians, because I think they are great fun. And Santiago Carreras at 10 is a bold move, but
not
when it works. I mean, he's an incredible rugby player. I'm not sure he's a 10 yet, but it might not be an issue in that group. But he's fun to watch.
I think the player who I'm most excited, I'm so glad he was fit enough to make the World Cup's Ange Capuozzo of Italy. Just, I mean, very painful recent memories for the Wales fans, but the lad's electric. And the thing that makes me, it's just brilliant. He looks like he should be going to school during the World Cup, not playing, but
he's very Shane Williams-esque, isn't he?
But Shane Williams had a kicking and passing game.
Well, yeah, he didn't need to though, did he?
There's a lot of young players coming through, at 20, 21, 22 sort of thing, and earning their place in the side because they're just better than the guys that have been doing it for the last 7 or 8 years. So I think we're going to see a lot of young players really pushing through. And in terms of the Wales team, are you expecting Sam Costello to kind of come through and show what he can do, Paul, or anyone else in the Wales camp that might come through and put their hands up that you're not quite expecting?
I think it's tough for a 10 to kind of shine so young. And I mean, he tackles well above his size, but he's not a huge bloke, and that's always going to be a bit of a worry, especially in what's going to be a pretty physical group. I think it's more the Welsh pack, which I could see taking a big step up. Obviously, the two co-captains look like they're ready for. I mean, I think Dowie Lake probably would have been starting by the end of the Six Nations, barring injury. I think he's got a huge future. Jack Morgan. I mean, there are so many back rowers, but he seems to have kind of separated himself to the point that he's kind of an absolute must start. And I guess the question is, can they settle on a second row in time? Because there's some good young lads there, but I don't think any of them have quite cracked it yet. And Adam Beard is okay, but probably not as good as he was 2 years ago. But I think that pack could be what's worth watching. And then, we'll see. I still don't really know what they're going to do in the back line beyond. I assume Reece Zammit and Adams are in there, I guess George North at 13. I assume, but
Lee's favourite centre, that is, isn't it? Lee?
He is,
you love George North at 13.
George North is not a centre.
You're part of the official fan club.
You should have said.
Don't start about his ass in here. I've heard it 3 weeks in a row now.
All right. Anyway, Paul.
Moving on.
Moving on quickly. So, 2 questions. Firstly, who is going to be the surprise team? But secondly, who is going to be the top try scorer?
Surprise team. Well, I'm going to steer clear of pools A and B because I just think it's going to be tough for there to be a real surprise in those groups. So I will say, I mean, now that we've seen them play a little bit, but I'm going to say Samoa could be the surprise team. I think they'll be too good for Japan, too good for Chile, and I wouldn't be stunned if they beat England. They've got probably the best halfbacks or best 10 options of the Pacific Island team that I've seen in a long time, which obviously makes a huge difference. I'm not convinced they've got the firepower that Fiji do, but with their pack, they've got the team that can cause a lot of issues. And what was the second question? I've already forgotten.
Top try scorer.
Top try scorer. I mean, Damien Penos just scores a lot of tries, doesn't he?
He does.
And just with the way the group falls, I think he'll probably play 3. France have only taken 3 wingers. So I'll go for Penno, but Aaron's as an outside bet as well.
Okay.
No love for Will Jordan?
I mean, Will Jordan.
He's very close to Diggy Howlett's record.
Yeah, the only thing with him is that New Zealand have taken 5 wingers, haven't they? Or 6 wingers. They've taken so many. I just don't really. I mean, especially when they had obviously Frizzell's injured, Retalic's injured, and they looked like they might lose Barrett, and suddenly they were going to go into a game where they might have had to play a hooker at flanker or flank cover because they had no one left. I found it baffling.
I'm just thinking at the teams New Zealand have. I mean, again, Penno, it applies to Penno as well, I guess, that they've got a chance, and whether or not is he going to be on the big ones?
Yeah, I just think he's so good that he'll definitely play France, and then. But I guess with the France game being first up, they'll have to play at least one more, maybe plays two more. So yeah, he's a very good shout. He's another one who scores tries for fun.
Good stuff. Okay, then, so let's wrap this up with your prediction then, Paul. So it's the World Cup final. Who's in it and who's winning it? There's a nice easy one for you there.
Yeah.
Referees in it.
I'll say, I think my heart is saying France over South Africa. My head is probably leaning towards South Africa over Ireland. Strangely enough, South Africa obviously won 3 World Cups, and I'm not convinced that they've ever necessarily been the best team at a World Cup that they've won. I mean, my memories of '95 are pretty not going to be quite the same as the others, but I think they've maybe benefited from getting it right in the right moments without necessarily being clearly the best team. But I think there's a chance that they could just kind of lay down a marker this time and just be too good and too powerful and too strong for everyone. But hopefully I'm wrong.
I think this is probably the wide open. Most World Cups you go in and it's between two sides and you pretty much know who's going to get there. And I think this is the most wide open World Cup that there's ever been. And I think the changing of the rules to allow players to go back to Tonga and Fiji and places like that have really benefited the tournament, and Scotland. But it's really benefited the tournament as a whole. I think it's going to be fantastic. My hope is that the tournament doesn't get a Farrell incident where it's more talk about the off-field stuff than it is on. But yeah, it's something to look forward to. So thank you for tonight, Paul. It's been very. I'm not as depressed as a Welsh fan as I was at the start, put it that way. So that might be the beer, but So just to cover off for some of our listeners, what some of our World Cup coverage is going to look like. So we're going to try and do watch-alongs, okay, which confuses the hell out of Jamie, but it's very simple. The platform that we're using for podcasts is going to launch a live pod kind of a thing, which means, so we're recording this now on a Monday night and then we edit it and fart around with it and take Carwin's stuff out. And then we'll put it up tomorrow morning for you guys to listen to. The live pod is you'd literally be listening to this as we're recording it. So what we could do is we could live pod during a game, and we'd be shouting at the screen the same way you would, and you'd just have us on in the background, and it would be like having a few extra mates in the room sort of a thing. But you could also then talk to us, you can argue with us, you can argue with everybody else that's listening with comments and all that kind of stuff. So that's how we'll watch on. If we can't do that on our live pod, we'll be doing it on YouTube, but we'll let you know all about it just before. And then when I said at the start, it's kind of, we've run out of time. We had this big plan of doing, we do Group A, Group B, Group C, and all that kind of stuff. And now next week we've got to do Wales versus Fiji, and that's pretty much it. So that's our pod for next week: is Wales versus Fiji. Wales play Fiji the week on the Sunday. I think we're playing on the Sunday. So yeah it will be. It's come around real quick. It's come around really, really quick. But yeah, it's looking good, guys. It's looking good. So that's us done for tonight, gentlemen. Lovely jubbly. Carwin is still standing, not pissed yet, Car? No? How many cans did you have?
Only two.
Only the two. He's done well. So, Paul, thank you again for your company tonight. It's been fantastic. How can people find you on social media, my friend?
Good question. I am on, I'll call it Twitter still, at Paul Eddison, I think.
You're on top of the list as well?
Indeed. You can, you can try and look for me elsewhere, but you probably won't get very far. My Instagram is incredibly dull. So, yeah. Keep an eye on Twitter. That's usually where I'll come out with a few comments here and there.
Yeah, and just going through your Twitter stuff this week, it is a really good account to follow. So any of our rugby supporters that want I know there are some people that just find rugby Twitter, and that I think that's literally all they do. They just sit on Twitter. So yeah, Paul's always a good follow on there, guys. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a great chat, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Paul. Cheers.
So,
Cheers.
We are done for tonight, gents, and we will catch up to this all again next week with some interesting beer. Jamie's going to go and find some cucumber beer. Carwyn has now doubled up his Baby Sham find, so that's going to be a big bottle of Baby Sham for you next week, Carwyn. Me and Harley are still escaping all of that stuff, but I am going to have a look in B&M, Jane, and see if there's something in there that I can find that is on your level of craziness.
Well, I won't be here next week, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to start looking for some Baby Sham as well.
Yeah,
or I'll find something. I'll find something worse.
There's actually
I've got a whole cupboard there. You can pick something off the shelf.
In Belgium, they've got so this lager, and what you can do, you can send in your picture, and they put your picture on the lager and can send you a whole crate of it.
Cheers for that, Carl.
He's full of insightful tonight, isn't he? He's full of the insight.
He's all in tonight.
Thanks, Carwyn. Cheers, mate.
Hey, listen, you're welcome anytime.
All right, thank you for that, gent. It's been a pleasure. We'll catch up. We'll do it all again next week. All the best.
Cheers. Bravo.
Thank you for listening to the Rap Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording it. Please do rate us and tell your friends, as it really helps us to grow and get better. We'll be back next week with more of the same, and until then, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.